to the Bitcoin Daily Show. We're doing a special episode today from Swan's HQ in beautiful Los Angeles. It's about 50 degrees, and I saw a couple people wearing parkas, but I always wear hoodies, so I'm kind of comfortable out here. Welcome. We have two amazing guests today. We're doing something a little different. We've got my guy Deli here, straight from Melbourne, Australia, and obviously the one and only, the bull market crypto savage, Cory Klippsten, Swan CEO. And so I wanted to just get started with some questions for Deli here, because we hear a lot about Bitcoin and we see Cory all the time. But Deli, if you want to tell people how you got into Bitcoin and, you know, the impact that you see Bitcoin having in the world of sports and entertainment.
Cool. Thanks for having me on. But yeah, so I bought the top in 2017. Didn't know too much about it, and then didn't really come back to Bitcoin until 2020 when COVID hit. Like a lot of my teammates, I was day trading and messing around with options, and I couldn't figure out why the stock market was continuing to go up, even though no one was working and, you know, people were staying home. Once I learned that governments could print money, which sounds funny saying it now, but once I learned that, looked into inflation hedges, looked into real estate, and when I was looking into gold, I came back to Bitcoin. So it's been a fun journey, listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of time on Twitter. Unfortunately, got to know Cory and some other great people in Bitcoin, and got involved with Swan. But in terms of how I see Bitcoin and athletes, I think you have such a short window to maximize your earning potential as an athlete, and things can change pretty quickly. You need to be really smart with what you've been able to earn, and having something that is going to hold value over time is really important. So I've been talking to a lot of teammates, and have started the process in just trying to educate and be a resource, and looking forward to doing that in the future.
All right. And I one thing that I think is cool about you and your story in particular, I think you represent Bitcoin very well because of your playing style. Coming into college, right? Like you grinded. You weren't like the most talented guy on the team, making an NBA roster, you know, having a 10-year NBA career. And I think the thing that you're probably most known for, at least here in the States, is like the proof of work that you put into guarding a guy 90 feet from the rim, or sticking with Steph to the point of almost killing yourself in a series. You know, I think you represent proof of work in Bitcoin. And not only just that from a local perspective, but also internationally. Talk a little bit about where maybe the NBA is going in terms of it not just being a domestic market. I mean, 3 of the 5 biggest stars in the league are international players. And so talk about this idea about Bitcoin expanding, you know, the NBA's opportunity for brand and, you know, those things internationally.
Yeah, I think, the proof of work thing is really important to me, because, everything that I've been able to achieve has been from just working hard. And that's something my parents have always instilled in me. And I think having something to be able to save in that can't be devalued, and have my hard work kind of be inflated away is really important. And I think it's even more important internationally than the US. And I think the beauty of basketball is, and I've had a lot of international teammates, sometimes, you know, we don't speak the same language, but basketball is almost like a universal language. You know, when you're playing the game with someone and you're connecting, when they're going to cut defensive rotations, playing pick and roll with someone, and having that connection is like almost like a universal language. And that's kind of how I see Bitcoin is. might not speak the same language, might not have other things in common, but we're on the same team. And I think that's something that I've really enjoyed about Bitcoin so far.
Yeah. Go look back at some of his highlights from this past season and check out the Bitcoin delis. The sneaks were fire. You might not have noticed it, but we noticed it if you were in the Bitcoin industry. And I wanted to ask some questions to Swan CEO Cory Klippsten. Swan is one of the leading Bitcoin companies in the world. We are building a financial services company that's going to, serve people not only here locally but internationally. And so, Cory, as you are on the road talking to investors and building an institutional business, tell me about the impact that these ETFs are having in the conversations that you get to have.
Yeah, sure. So, man, like before and after January 10th is just so clearly marking a new era for Bitcoin. And it's just been absolutely fascinating. We kind of foresaw that something like this would happen, but to see it kind of come this quickly and be so obvious, some of the things that we hypothesized. So in particular, thinking about like, what is the top of funnel for getting people into Bitcoin? And so up through 2019 through 2023, let's say the first epic of Swan, first 4 years, top of funnel for Bitcoin was basically crypto. It was all the non-Bitcoin stuff being pushed by $100 billion of altcoin VC money. And it makes the pitch when you talk to somebody about Bitcoin extremely difficult, or it did, because almost by definition, you're fighting through a bunch of false things that they believe. And so the first thing you're telling them is you got scammed, which is really, really hard for people to hear, as you've seen from, a lot of our years of battling altcoin folk on Twitter and on podcasts. People, it's scammers don't care if you call them a scammer. People hate to hear that they've been scammed because it's like an ego hit. So they hate the person that delivers that message. And so just switching out that top of funnel, and now it's, Uncle Larry and Auntie Abby talking about Bitcoin. They have a slightly inferior product because they have paper Bitcoin and, they charge every year instead of charging you once. So like we actually have a better product. But what it's done is it's pulled companies like Swan from kind of like mid-low funnel to like mid-upper funnel, where we're right there just below the huge ad dollars and the constant CNBC appearances of ETF type folk. And we're right here. And if you put 1% of your liquid net worth or your net worth into a Bitcoin ETF, you're going to start reading about Bitcoin. And the whole internet points toward real Bitcoin as being the right way to do that. And people, again, they don't like to be wrong. So the same thing, the same thing that was hurting them and was making it psychologically difficult to get people into Bitcoin for the 6-year sort of, dark period with a poopy brown top of funnel, and now we're back to like an orange top of funnel, is just so much better. And then I think the other thing that I've been talking about a lot before and since the launch of the ETFs is this the idea of an ETF multiplier effect. And so basically this is the idea that because the ETFs exist, more capital is flowing into Bitcoin outside of the ETFs than would if the ETFs weren't in existence and already passed. It's this CYA factor for all of the capital allocators. It's the being able to point to somebody like it's good enough for BlackRock, it's good enough for Fidelity, it's good enough for me. And so I think over the rest of the decade, something like 5 to 10x more capital will flow into Bitcoin than otherwise would outside of the ETFs because the ETFs passed. And that is not priced in. And that is not something that is well understood. I think it was inevitable that at some point the ETFs would pass, but because now that they have, whatever your expectations were for the adoption curve of number of people go up, or the price curve of number in nominal dollars go up, you have to adjust that upward because they actually do exist now.
So what does that do for Swan in general? Just how does that impact our vision in the short term? And I know you mentioned Epic, excuse me, epoch. These are terms that are used as it relates to the Bitcoin halving, and we're coming up on the halving here. I think we're less than 16 days out from the next halving. So when it comes to thinking about, you know, the vision for Swan over the next epoch, what does that do for you? How does that change how you're thinking about what we build and what we do here at Swan?
Yeah, I mean, broadly, we'll be writing a lot about this as we kind of round the corner here and head into Swan's second epoch, because we did launch right before the first halving in, I think, end of March of 2020, and it's been 4 years. And now we're heading into the next 4 years, the second stage of Swan. And I think we've decided what to do in the first 4 years, and now we've started to actually do it. And we have, you know, an operating system and a team and a structure that scales to the moon. And so now it's kind of, it's clear running in front of us, and we just go super hard. And instead of trying to figure out what to do, you're just turning 100 little dials and making each of those things that you're already doing a little bit better as you go each day. And I think it's just really exciting to know that when we came up with this idea in 2019, everyone thought it was stupid and that there was no room for Bitcoin-centric financial services, that the crypto casinos were a monopoly and we're going to fulfill the needs of everyone forever, always. And to know that we carved out a space and a brand and a team that is absolutely crushing it and, you know, is growing, you know, 20x year on year or whatever the numbers are. It's like, it's pretty insane, the levels that we're reaching now. And I'm just super thrilled to be working with this team and to be helping people around the world understand Bitcoin a little bit better today than they did yesterday, which I know is the mission of your show. So back to the man.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll give you one last question for each of you, and then we'll cut for today. As you look back on the last 4 years of you being in Bitcoin or buying the top to where you are now, what is one thing that Bitcoin has done to change your perspective? Because they always say this, right? You don't change Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin changes you. And so what is that one thing, looking back from, you know, today back to when we started this company to now, and then maybe fast forward 4 years? Like, I don't know. I don't even think you can envision how much your perspective might change being in Bitcoin, but maybe look back and say, how has Bitcoin changed you over the last 4 years?
Yeah, so this just actually makes me think of something that I said at a Swan Salon, one of our private events here in LA last fall, and it was when Nico, our buddy Nico Moran, Bitvolt from Simply Bitcoin, his wife was pregnant, and that baby was coming along the way, and I just threw out some advice for him, or just kind of like an observation. And life changes when you become a parent, because now you have something that basically will suck up all of your spare time and all of your effort that's just sitting there. And so what it does, it gives you this, it's like a switch goes off, and now you have permission to focus on what's most important. And you suddenly realize how easy it is to say no to so many other things. And I told Nico, you know, you're actually lucky because you already had Bitcoin before you became a parent, because you've already had, you know, 5-6 years of practice saying no to things that don't matter, because Bitcoin is the first thing that, for single folk who aren't parents, it gives you that same kind of superpower to cut through the noise and get to what's important. Anyway, so I think the parallels between like parenthood and being a Bitcoiner are very, very strong, and they both deliver similar types and levels of superpowers.
Nice. All right, to you.
I don't know if it's changed me, but I think just more reinforced the things that I've felt and have tried to do with, you know, being an athlete is all about having a low time preference, so you can train today, eat the right things, sleep, so you can perform tomorrow. And I think it's just made my time preference even lower and reinforced, you know, the things that I'm trying to do basketball wise, and then also, yeah, with my family, like Cory said, and thinking, you know, generations into the future.
All right. With that, we're signing off for today. As always, if you like this content, please share this video. Please like this, subscribe to the channel. We want to teach more people about Bitcoin. That's our mission at Swan. We have one overlying value as a company: do what's right for Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. And this number may be getting revised, but we've always talked about this number of inspiring, empowering, educating 10 million new Bitcoiners. And so we're still on that mission. We don't think that we're there. And it's our mission here at the Daily Show to do just that. So thanks for tuning in today. And with that, we're signing off for today. This is Dante Cook with Swan.com. Happy stacking.